Welcome to the Wife Stories YouTube channel. New video every day, and don't forget to subscribe. Here we go.
I hear a faint ping from my phone. Late at night, half asleep, I almost ignore it, but something in the back of my mind nudges me awake. The message's tone is distant, as if calling from another reality. My lungs tighten. I catch myself holding my breath. I inhale slowly and feel every bit of air forcing its way in. And that right there is when it all starts. The moment I begin noticing my own breath, as if my lungs and I are two separate beings watching each other. It's like my body knows something's off before my brain does. I swipe the phone off the nightstand. It's just a reminder about the Netflix account. An automated email, nothing major. But it's enough to remind me of that name I saw in our profile list. Teddy. I remember staring at it the other day. Unfamiliar, friendly in a childish way, yet glaring proof of something that shouldn't be. Because we'd always had 3 profiles. Mine, hers, and our daughter's. Then Teddy appeared. First time I noticed, I told myself it was probably some glitch or a random name inserted by Netflix. Then I found the traces. Odd continue watching suggestions for romantic comedies or edgy thrillers we never see together, and the watch hours messing with the subscription logs. I tried to rationalize it away, told myself I was being paranoid. But the second brush in the shower, the missing wine bottles, the sudden phone calls answered in hushed voices, those left fewer doubts. Everything converged into a suspicion I didn't want. At 50, a man wants to believe he's built a solid life. Family, home, career. My wife, Evelyn, and I have been married for 25 years. Our daughter is away at college, but close enough to come home on weekends. I used to think we were this normal, stable couple that overcame the usual storms, anchored by respect and routine. Now my routine feels like quicksand. And that name, Teddy, is a silent emblem that I can't ignore. I set the phone aside. I rest my head on the pillow, eyes open, senses sharpened. I can almost hear my heart in my ears. My chest's rising and falling, and in that quiet breathing, I remember the clues that led me here. There was the neighbor, cheerful guy with a carrot cake who mumbled something about the big surprise. My daughter, smiling coyly about something my wife was planning. Evelyn's eyes shining with a secret that had nothing to do with me. Just wait, they said, something big is coming. My birthday, a milestone. Everyone seemed in on some plan, except me. Over the weeks, she started giving me this half-smile, a bit forced, too polite. She'd rummage through her closet for the new black dresses I'd bought her. I'd always insisted black was her color, telling her it accentuated her eyes. She never questioned how I kept picking them out, like a director costuming his star for a role she didn't realize she had. Each time I'd see her in those dresses, I'd envision a stage. I would watch her, meticulously, from the wings, as if waiting for a cue. Meanwhile, the old resentments and that lurking suspicion festered under my skin. I said nothing. I just observed, storing every uneasy moment like evidence in my mind. Months of tension gathered until the day I decided to test a theory. I opened Netflix and saw that name, Teddy, again. The recently watched section had romantic comedies from the 90s, steamy dramas, even some design documentaries. I could guess who was behind that interest. Evelyn's always been into design, but these were shows she never watched with me. I scrolled down to recommended for Teddy, and my chest caved in. Something about seeing that friendly name attached to our account. My account set me on fire. I turned off the TV. I stared at my reflection in the dark screen, hardly recognizing the man I saw. That night, I decided, no confrontation, no tears, no yelling. I'd give them a stage to play out their scene. If she was truly seeing someone behind my back, they'd slip. They always slip. I felt a bitterness creeping in, the kind that stings more because I loved her. Because part of me still does. Because I'm old enough to know how messy heartbreak can be. And because at 50, who wants to start over? I invited her to the cabin by the lake. It was our place from 20 years ago, that little rental we visited when we were newly married. Back when we had less money and more dreams, we'd sit by the water, watch sunsets, talk about the future. That was the trip I realized I wanted her in my life forever. And now, ironically, it would be the stage for a final act. I told her it was a late birthday present or an anniversary getaway. Whatever lie was needed to lower her guard. I asked her to wear that black dress she loves so much, told her I had a surprise in mind. She said yes with startling eagerness, as though she'd been waiting for me to plant something. Her eyes sparkled. That sparkle, it wounded me more than anything else, because it reminded me of how she used to look at me when we first married. The day of our trip, she seemed almost girlish in her excitement, rummaging through her suitcase, humming to herself. I packed only the essentials, some clothes, camera gear, my phone. I felt calm on the outside, no shaky hands or raised voice, but inside, I was braced for war. I told her I needed to grab supplies in town once we got there. She nodded, not suspecting a thing. My calmness probably frightened me more than her confusion did. The quiet rage simmered in the background, a tether pulling me forward. Because men my age, we've been taught you don't cry, you don't whine, you handle your business, you do what must be done. So I channeled it all into control, a plan, a carefully orchestrated trap. We arrived at the cabin in the late afternoon. The lake was calm, barely a ripple. She got out, breathed in the pines, commented how the place looked almost the same as back then. For a moment, I remembered the younger version of us stepping onto that creaky porch, bright-eyed and so hopeful. My chest tightened with nostalgia and betrayal all at once. I forced a smile, told her I'd step out again to buy groceries and a new bottle of wine. "Make yourself at home," I said. She beamed, blowing me a playful kiss, and I, traitor to my own heart, pretended to return it with warmth. I parked the car out of sight and walked back on foot. I left the door unlocked intentionally. Slipping in through the rear, I found a corner of the bedroom deep in shadow and crouched behind the old dresser. My camera phone in my hand, I set it to record. The wait felt like forever. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears, just like earlier with that Netflix email. My breath was shallow. The walls of the cabin felt too close. The front door creaked. She was on the phone, voice hushed but not quite whispering. And then I heard a male voice, casual, unguarded, like he belonged here. "I took off my shoes," he said softly, probably smiling. "Didn't want to track dirt onto your special night." I realized he was comfortable enough to slip right into the place where I'd once been king. My teeth clenched so hard my jaw ached. I forced myself not to move, even as my instincts screamed to tear him apart. They didn't waste time. I heard them in the living area, voices full of excitement. I peeked around the corner. She wore that black dress, the same one I'd told her to bring. The same style I'd chosen for her months ago in some twisted self-sabotage. He was in a casual outfit, dark jeans, a snug t-shirt, leaning in with that grin on his face. This must be Teddy. Some younger man. She was giggling in that flirty tone I almost forgot she had. The giggle I used to think was mine alone. They moved to the bedroom. I retreated further into the shadows, heart pounding. Evelyn put her hands on his shoulders, and he ran his fingers over the sleeves of her dress. The laughter turned to whispers. I recorded, though my hand trembled. In that intimate hush, I felt like an intruder in my own life, like a voyeur who didn't belong here. But I needed the proof. Not just for me, but for everyone who said I was imagining things. For our daughter, for the neighbor, for anyone who believed Evelyn was still the wife who'd never betray me. I heard fabric rustling, the unmistakable sound of two people undressing. My chest was a furnace of rage. She moaned his name. Teddy. Teddy. As if the Netflix profile had come to life right here in my bed. Their voices carried an undercurrent of desire that cut me to the core. I should have shut my eyes. But I didn't. I needed to see it, to feel the final blow that would end any chance of denial. She ran her hands up his back. Familiar, intimate. He murmured that he dreamed of this moment alone with her. She answered him with a whisper so tender it made my stomach tighten like a clenched fist. My mind flickered to every memory I had of us in that bed, or in any bed, all those nights we once shared. The late-night talks, the lazy Sunday mornings, the laughter after a quick shower together. The same woman who once told me I was her only one, her rock, her home, now giving that warmth to someone else, in the place that was supposed to be ours. I wanted to scream. My breathing was shallow, but I refused to break the silence just yet. I could taste something bitter in my mouth, like metal or poison. I told myself, you wanted this. You planned it. Now watch. He kissed her neck. She sighed, leaning her head back in a way I recognized. Her fingers glided over his chest. My heart hammered like a machine gun. The tension in me was so fierce, I could barely keep from bursting out of the darkness. Then, at the peak of their oblivious passion, I flicked on the lamp. The bedroom exploded with light. They froze mid-movement, startled like animals caught in a trap. She gasped, eyes wide, her half-buttoned dress slipping off her shoulders. He turned, half-dressed, shock painted across his face. I lifted my phone, camera rolling. "Smile," I said, my voice low, tight with anger. "You're on candid camera." My words echoed in the small room. She scrambled for the covers, face going from flushed desire to pale horror. He stumbled backward, practically tripping on his own pants. It was almost comical if it hadn't come at the cost of my entire life. For a moment, no one spoke. The only sounds were our ragged breathing. Then she said, "Oh my God, Mark," as if that alone could explain or excuse this disaster. Teddy started stammering. "Hey man, this isn't. I didn't mean." The usual nonsense. He was younger, for sure, maybe mid-30s. The carefully styled hair, the lean frame, that edgy stubble. In that moment, I hated everything about him. The casual t-shirt, the damn confident grin he probably wore an hour ago. She tried to cover herself and speak, but her words were broken. A rush of shock and apology. I watched them both, my phone steady, heart pounding but my voice eerily calm. "No," I said. "Don't cover up. Let's make sure the camera sees you exactly as you are." Her eyes brimmed with tears. I didn't see heartbreak for me there. I saw panic, fear of consequences, fear of exposure. She scrambled for her clothes anyway, half succeeding, but too rattled to do it gracefully. Teddy, face pale, grabbed his shirt from the floor and tried to put it on. The phone camera never wavered from them. For a second, time slowed. I recalled my father's words from decades ago. Words about dignity, about holding your head high no matter what. He'd never taught me how to handle betrayal. In that painful, humiliating moment, I felt rage twist my guts in ways I never had before. I wanted to lash out, to break furniture, to make them cower. But I remembered the plan. My plan was to let them see me, let them know I was not powerless. So I forced a bitter grin. The silence weighed heavy. She whispered, "Mark, oh my God, just let me explain." He jumped in, raising his hands. "It's not what it looks like." I cut him off with a short laugh. "It's exactly what it looks like. I've known for weeks. I've seen the hints, the signs. Netflix, the wine, your second toothbrush in my shower. You think I'm a fool. 50 doesn't mean senile." Her eyes darted between me and the camera. "Mark, please, can you stop recording? Let's talk, just you and me." "Too late for that," I snapped. My voice was quiet, but it carried a cold finality. "I'm going to show this video to the people who need to see it. Our daughter, our friends, your parents, if you want. They should know what you've been doing." She clutched the blanket against her chest, trembling. "You can't do that." "Watch me," I said. And God help me, a twisted part of me felt satisfaction in her terror. "I gave you years. I gave you everything. You spit on it. Now the entire family gets to see who you really are." She broke into sobs. I turned to Teddy, who stood there, shirt half on, belt undone. "You," I said, "get your stuff and go. If you want to talk about it, talk to her attorney. Or mine." He looked at me as though he wanted to protest, but the combination of my glare and the phone camera in my hand kept him silent. His expression flickered between anger and shame. I jerked my thumb toward the door. Out. He grabbed his shoes, didn't say another word. Maybe he recognized in my face that if he stayed, I'd do more than just record him. He ducked past me and was gone in seconds. The front door banged shut. Her sobs filled the space he left behind. She turned to me, tears streaking her makeup. "Mark, I never meant. Oh God, how did this happen?" She looked at me with a desperation, the kind that pleads for mercy. I felt none. My heart was numb. My mind was in that controlled, mechanical mode again. "I told you," I said softly. "I want the world to see this. I want them to see what I saw." She whispered, "I'm sorry," over and over, as if an apology could patch a gaping wound. But her words sank in the air like stones. I watched her, watched the woman I once adored, the mother of my child, undone by her own choices. And I felt nothing except the dryness in my throat and the weight in my chest. I pressed the button to stop recording. The scene ended. The show was over. I walked out of the bedroom, into the living room. My ears were ringing from the adrenaline. She followed me, still trying to gather her clothes, stumbling in her panic. She asked me questions. Why? How? What now? She reached out, tried to touch my arm. I shrugged her off. I felt like her touch would burn me. "I'll drive home," I said. "You can find your own way back, or call a friend, or call him." The words tasted like bile, but I forced them out. She tried to argue, to beg me to stay, but I was already out the door. The evening sky hung heavy, pink and gold reflecting off the lake, and in my chest everything twisted into a knot so tight I could barely walk straight. A breeze rustled the pines, mocking me with how peaceful nature could be in the face of human agony. I got in the car and sped away. I stopped halfway back to the city to breathe, to make sure I wouldn't crash from the pure tension electrifying my body. I pulled over by the side of the road, turned off the engine. My hands clutched the steering wheel so hard they were shaking. For a second, I thought, am I going to have a heart attack? My father had heart problems. 50 is about that time, right? Men crack under stress. The noise in my head was unbearable. I tried to breathe, slowly, carefully, counting each breath. The tears I expected never came. I just clenched my jaw until it hurt. I made it back to the house around midnight. The place was dark and silent. Our daughter was away at college, so I was alone. Good. I didn't want to see anyone's face. I poured myself a stiff drink, whiskey, which I almost never touched. Usually, I stick to light beer or an occasional scotch. That night, I needed something strong. I gulped it down. The burn in my throat felt like penance. I sat at the kitchen table, the overhead light off, the only illumination coming from a small lamp in the hallway, and I replayed it in my mind, every second of that humiliating scene in the bedroom. The looks on their faces. My phone was still in my pocket. The file was in there. My big trophy of betrayal. I felt a wave of nausea. I got up, rummaged through the cabinet for antacids, popped 2, and forced them down with water. Then I sank onto the couch, phone clenched in my hand. I opened the video. I watched it again, start to finish. I needed to confirm it was real. This is the kind of nightmare you half expect to vanish when you open your eyes. But there it was, the lens capturing every detail. The tension, the shock, the absolute heartbreak. I stared at my wife's face in the footage, how she looked at that younger man before the light came on. Her eyes held a warmth and hunger I hadn't seen directed at me for a long time. I hated her in that moment. I hated him even more. And I hated myself most of all for letting it come to this. I locked the phone, set it on the table. My mind swirled with questions. Do I send this to her parents? Do I text it to my daughter? That idea alone made me recoil in disgust. Our kid, seeing her mother like that. But a dark voice in me whispered, let her see what her mother is, so it's not all on you. Another voice, maybe the last shred of my old self, argued that no child should see this. She's 19, but still, this is vile. I sank deeper into the couch, pressing my palms to my eyes. My chest felt hollow. In the end, the exhaustion overcame me. I drifted off on the couch, fully dressed, an empty whiskey glass by my side. When I woke up to the morning sun, my neck stiff, I stared at the ceiling, trying to remember what day it was. My phone vibrated. I picked it up. 20 missed calls from Evelyn. A bunch of texts, all saying the same thing. I'm sorry, please talk to me. I can explain. It's not what you think. Nonsense. I got up, tossed the phone on the table, and went to take a long hot shower. Under the water, I tried to wash away the memory of her moans, the image of them locked in an embrace. I tried to block out the sound of my own breathing that had haunted me all night, but the water couldn't do it. That bitterness was in my bones now. When I stepped out, I stared at the mirror for a long time. I saw a man with lines on his face, stress lines around the eyes, flecks of gray in the hair. I saw a man who'd worked decades to provide for his family, who'd built a stable life around trust that turned out to be a lie. My father's stoic advice rang in my head. A man doesn't break. He finds a way. Right, we swallow the pain, keep going. But the tightness in my chest reminded me it was easier said than done. I spent the day ignoring her calls, letting the phone ring until it died. I wrote an email to my boss, said I was taking some personal days. No explanation. I made an appointment with my lawyer. Step 1. I needed to figure out exactly how to handle this. I rummaged in the cabinets for something to eat, found a half-finished bag of bagels. Ate one without appetite. Everything tasted like cardboard. Toward evening, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find her standing there, eyes swollen and red, wearing that same black dress from the night before, minus the disheveled look. She had a small suitcase at her feet, possibly the same she'd taken to the cabin. She'd come straight here, it seemed, wanting to talk. I stared at her for a moment, jaw clenched. I said nothing. She whispered, "May I come in?" I stepped aside, not trusting my voice. She walked in, set the suitcase down by the door. She turned to face me, tears brimming. I just want to say I'm sorry," she began. "I never meant to hurt you like this. It's all my fault." I leaned against the wall, arms crossed, letting her speak. "It's been going on how long?" I asked quietly. She hesitated. "A few months," she said. "It was just, we were drifting apart, and Teddy made me feel alive again. Younger. I never wanted to destroy our marriage, I swear. I thought maybe it was just a fling, that it would fade, and we could go back to normal. But you found out. I know how terrible this is. I let a beat pass. You said you wanted to talk. I said coldly, so talk." She closed her eyes, took a shaky breath. "I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything. But you have to believe I didn't want to lose you. Somewhere along the way, we lost each other. I felt invisible. My anger flared. Invisible. Do you think I was having a party over here? I've spent the last few years worried that I wasn't enough. My job ate my time, but it paid the bills, gave you the life you wanted. Did you ever say we needed to do more together?" Her voice cracked. "I tried. Maybe not enough. Mark, I'm so sorry. I understand if you hate me." My chest felt tight. "Yeah, I hate what you did. But mostly, I hate that you didn't even talk to me first. You just brought him into our home, drank our wine, used my shower, and you weren't even careful about the evidence. You really thought I was that blind." She sobbed, covering her mouth. "I was stupid. We were reckless. I never guessed you'd notice. You're always so calm, so controlled. She trailed off, voice failing. I wanted to laugh at that. Me, calm and controlled. If only she knew the war inside me. I inhaled deeply. I'm not showing that video to our daughter. I said, I can't do that to her, but he'll need to tell her something, because she'll figure it out eventually. I also haven't decided if I'll show it to your parents. But if you push me, if you try to play victim, I'll do it. Understood. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I felt a pang of something. Pity. Remorse. But I stomped it down. She made this bed. She can lie in it. She whispered, can we fix this? Marriage counseling. Anything. I studied her. The hollow ache in my chest grew. She wanted a second chance. Part of me wanted to grab her, shake her, demand to know how she could betray me. Another part wanted to walk away. I don't know, I said. Right now, I want you gone. I need space. And you need to figure out if he's worth it. She flinched. He's not, she said quickly. I ended it for good, right after you left. I blocked him. I told him I never want to see him again. Her desperation was raw, but my trust in her words was gone. I stepped aside. Get your suitcase. Go to a friend's house or a hotel. I'll let you know when I'm ready to talk. If I'm ever ready. I turned away, not wanting to see her face anymore. She hovered by the door a moment like she might argue, but she picked up her suitcase, opened the door, and quietly left. When the door clicked shut, I exhaled a long, shaky breath. The silence felt deafening. I wanted to punch a hole in the wall, but I just stood there, chest heaving, eyes burning with unshed tears. A few days passed in a haze. I spoke to my lawyer about divorce options, assets, and how to handle a potential separation. I only half listened. My mind was clouded with anger, pain, and a strange emptiness. I found myself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, hearing my own breathing like a thunderstorm in my ears. The memories of that cabin scene looped in my head. Her voice, her laughter at him, the way she lit up when he walked in, the way they touched each other, familiar, intimate. It was a film playing on repeat, and I was the captive audience. I told my lawyer I had a video. He said it was good evidence if we needed to prove adultery, but that in our state, no-fault divorce might make it less impactful legally. I said I didn't care about the legal angle. I just wanted people to see the truth, if it came down to it. He cautioned me about defamation or revenge porn laws. Be careful how you use it, he advised. It might cause more harm to you than good. That stuck with me. More harm to me than good. Maybe so. Maybe I was beyond caring. Or maybe I was just a wounded animal lashing out at anything that got too close. I wanted to speak to my daughter, but I kept putting it off. What could I say? Your mother cheated with a younger man. I caught them, filmed them, and now I'm carrying around this ball of rage that feels like it'll strangle me. That's not exactly a fatherly conversation, and I sure as hell wasn't going to share the video with her. No, I needed to figure out the right approach, or maybe let Evelyn handle it. But then that felt like I was letting her shape the narrative, letting her paint me as the villain. The thought churned my stomach. A week passed before my phone buzzed with a message from her. She asked if we could meet at a neutral place, a coffee shop or something, just to talk. She said she wouldn't push me about the marriage if I truly wanted out, but she needed to discuss how to approach our daughter. She also mentioned that she was worried about me. The nerve, she's worried about me. The hypocrisy made my jaw clench. But I agreed. I wasn't about to let her spin the story alone. We met in a quiet cafe on the edge of town. She looked tired, older, as if she'd aged 10 years in a week. I could guess I didn't look much better. My reflection in the bathroom mirror each morning suggested a man who'd slept too little and raged too much. She offered a tentative smile. I just nodded and sat across from her, arms folded. She sipped her coffee, hands trembling. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. "I know this is awkward. Just say what you need," I replied. My tone was flat. I wasn't going to give her any comfort or small talk. She bowed her head. "I think we should tell our daughter something soon. She's been texting me about your birthday, about how we all missed a family dinner. I've run out of excuses. I don't want to lie to her." "Then don't," I said sharply. "But keep the details to yourself. She doesn't need to know the specifics." She nodded. "I wouldn't dream of showing her the video." "I'm not a monster." She paused. "I'm sorry, that was a cheap shot. I waved a hand, cutting her off. "I'm not showing it to her either," I said. "But she deserves to know that you and I are not okay." My voice cracked a little at the end, but I swallowed hard and pressed on. She reached across the table, but I pulled away. She sighed, dropping her hand. "We can tell her that we're separated for now, that we're working through something serious." "Fine," I said, "but don't lie. Don't tell her I'm the one who walked away without reason." She shook her head. "I won't do that. I'll tell her the truth, that I broke your trust." I almost believed her sincerity. For a brief moment, I saw the Evelyn I once loved, the woman who used to care about our family above all else. But then I remembered the way she looked at Teddy, the betrayal. The memory slapped me back to reality. People change. Sometimes they become unrecognizable. "Is that all?" I asked, picking up my coffee. It tasted bitter, even though I'd loaded it with sugar. She nodded, tears welling up again. "I just want you to know that I ended it completely. He's been calling, texting. I blocked him everywhere. And I'm trying to figure out what I was thinking, how I got so lost. I didn't want to lose you." Her confession twisted something inside me. I wanted to ask if she felt regret for her actions or just regret for getting caught. But I forced myself to remain calm. "What you do or don't do with him now doesn't matter. You made your choice. If you think blocking him wipes the slate clean, you're mistaken." She bowed her head, tears dripping into her coffee cup. People glanced at us, but I ignored them. Let them see. A man my age isn't afraid of a few stares. I finished my drink, stood up. "I'll call you when I'm ready to talk about next steps. That might be a week, or a month, or never." She looked up, desperation in her eyes. "Please, Mark, I know I don't deserve any kindness, but I beg you, if you ever loved me, just, please don't shut me out for good." I felt a pang of old affection in my chest. But then I remembered the cabin. My stomach churned. "Goodbye, Evelyn," I said, and walked out. I didn't look back. That night, I sat in my living room with all the lights off. The house felt hollow. I thought about calling my daughter, telling her what was happening, but words failed me. Instead, I grabbed my phone, scrolled to the video. My finger hovered over the play button. I wanted to destroy it, to free myself from the poison. Then I thought about that spark of satisfaction I felt at the idea of showing it to certain people. That anger was still alive in me. So I locked my phone, set it aside. It remained an option I might never use, but it was an option nonetheless. I returned to work the next morning. My colleagues asked about my personal time off. I gave them some vague excuse about a family emergency. That was enough. I couldn't stand the idea of them knowing my wife had an affair with a younger man who liked to leave his damn toothbrush in my shower. The day passed slowly, each hour grinding by. My boss gave me sympathetic looks, as though he suspected something bigger was wrong. I said nothing. 2 days later, my daughter texted me. "Hey, Dad, everything okay? Mom's acting weird. Said you two have some issues. What's going on?" I stared at the text for a long moment. My heart twisted. Time to face it. I called her. She picked up, sounding concerned. "Dad, is everything all right?" I paused, trying to steady my voice. "Your mom and we're having some serious problems," I said. "I won't get into the details, but it might lead to us separating." Her gasp was audible. Oh, Dad, are you sure? You and Mom always seem so solid. I let out a breath. We've been drifting apart. There's more to it, but I don't want to put you in the middle. She was quiet a moment. Can I come home this weekend? Maybe we can talk, or I can help somehow. I pinched the bridge of my nose. I appreciate it. Sweetheart, come if you like, but I can't promise it'll fix anything. We're trying to figure out the next steps, she said softly. I love you, Dad. No matter what happens between you two, I'm here. A lump formed in my throat. I love you too, I managed, then ended the call. I sat there in the break room, phone in hand, eyes stinging. Men my age aren't supposed to cry, but the urge was there. I swallowed it down. Breathe, just breathe. That weekend, she came home. I told Evelyn to stay away, so we could have father-daughter time. She didn't argue. My daughter and I talked in the living room. She asked gentle questions, respecting boundaries. I told her only that her mother had broken my trust in a big way, and that I was deciding how to proceed. She tried not to pry, but curiosity flickered in her eyes. Is there someone else, Dad? She asked carefully. I exhaled. Yes, I said. That's all I can say. Please don't blame yourself or think you could have prevented it. It's between your mother and me. She nodded, tears trembling on her lashes. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Are you going to divorce her? I felt that question like a punch to the gut. I don't know. Part of me wants to. Another part is confused. We've been married 25 years. It's not that easy to walk away. But I can't live with betrayal. She scooted closer, hugged me. I froze for a second, then let myself relax in her embrace. I patted her back, trying to offer reassurance I didn't feel. My paternal instinct reasserted itself for a moment, overshadowing the bitterness. She was my kid, and she needed me to be strong. So I tried to be. The next few weeks were a blur of half-hearted attempts at daily life. I avoided seeing Evelyn in person. I communicated through texts or emails when necessary. Bills, schedules, how to handle property. I told her I had a lawyer. She said she understood. She asked for counseling again. I refused. My rage wasn't diminishing, but it was changing shape, less explosive, more of a smoldering resentment. I found myself replaying old memories, searching for signs of her dissatisfaction. Maybe I'd been blind, or maybe she'd hidden it expertly. In the end, it didn't matter. One evening after a long day at work, I sat on my couch watching a baseball game. I drank a beer, mind drifting. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. The text read, I'm done with her, man. I swear. Don't take it out on me. I stared at it. The area code was local. Could it be Teddy? My fists clenched. I typed back, Who is this? A reply came. Teddy. Look, I'm sorry. She told me you'd found out. I can't stop feeling guilty about everything. Another text. Please, can we talk? I want to apologize properly. My first instinct was to ignore him or block him. But a grim satisfaction stirred in me. If he wanted to meet, maybe I could see the face of the man who invaded my life, and look him in the eyes without that camera between us. I typed, Where? He suggested a public park near the water, late afternoon the next day. I hesitated, then agreed. Maybe I needed to face him. Maybe I needed closure. Or maybe I just wanted to confirm for myself that he wasn't some unstoppable force that took my wife away, but just a flawed guy who got entangled in our marriage. The next day, I drove to the park. It was a chilly autumn afternoon. Leaves had started turning yellow and orange. I found him sitting on a bench by the lake, wearing a hoodie and jeans, fiddling with his phone. He looked younger in daylight, nervous, uncertain. When he saw me, he stood up. Mark, right? He said quietly. I gave a curt nod. You must be Teddy. Didn't think you'd have the guts to come. He rubbed the back of his neck. I felt I owed you an apology. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but it's all I got. I stared at him, letting the silence draw out until he shifted uncomfortably. How did it start? I asked. I want to hear it from you. He swallowed. We met at a design event. I do freelance. She was. We talked about interior design. Then we saw each other a couple more times at different events, had coffee. Things escalated. He lowered his eyes. I didn't realize how serious it was until one day I was at your house. She said you were out of town, but you came back early, or almost did. I narrowed my eyes. Yeah. My trip got cut short. That's when I first suspected something was off. Saw your toothbrush. I clenched my jaw. He grimaced. I was an idiot. I shouldn't have left personal stuff there. It was disrespectful. I guess I didn't think it all the way through. My hands itched to grab his collar. No, you didn't, I growled. You waltzed into my home and shared my bed with my wife. That's more than disrespectful. He raised his palms. Look, man, I know. You can hate me for the rest of your life. I feel guilty. I grew up fatherless, lost my dad young. I never wanted to break another man's family. He exhaled shakily. I'm not proud of who I became. I studied him, looking for deception. He seemed sincere, remorseful even. But so what? The damage was done. You want me to forgive you. Is that it? He hesitated. Forgiveness might be too much to ask. But I wanted you to know that I'm not chasing Evelyn. I'm leaving her alone. I don't want to cause more harm. If there's anything else I can do. I gave a bitter chuckle. You can't undo it. So no, there's nothing else. I turned to walk away, but paused. One more thing, I said. Why the name Teddy? That's a kid's name. Why not just Theo or something adult? He looked surprised, then gave a sad grin. My mom used to call me Teddy Bear. It stuck, especially in college. People said it was endearing. And I guess, well, I never changed it on my Netflix. It was a nickname, part of my brand sometimes. That's how it ended up on your account. The mention of Netflix triggered the memory of all those recommended shows. I shook my head. I almost believed it was some random glitch. Then I realized it was you. I turned away, not wanting to hear more. We're done here. He nodded, a hollow look in his eyes. I get it. I'm sorry. I walked off, leaving him standing by the bench. My chest ached, but a part of me felt a faint relief. At least now I knew he was just a flawed man, not some unstoppable force. It didn't lessen the betrayal, but it reminded me that it was Evelyn's choice as much as his. I couldn't place all blame on this man alone. As the days rolled by, I continued living in a limbo. Some nights I'd lie awake, heart pounding in the darkness, hearing that slow, measured breath. The memory was always there. The black dress, the hushed laughter, the switch flicking on, their guilty faces, over and over. In that hush, I realized how much I dreaded the next step. Divorce, heartbreak, dividing the life we built. But equally, I dreaded any attempt to reconcile. The trust was gone, replaced by an emptiness. Eventually, I demanded that she come over so we could have a final conversation about finances. She arrived, face drawn, not wearing makeup. There was a fragile quiet in the air as we sat in the living room. The couch felt like neutral ground, but also haunted by memories of happier times. I laid out the steps for the separation. Dividing accounts, real estate concerns. She nodded, tears occasionally escaping. She didn't argue or plead for forgiveness. Maybe she sensed I wasn't ready, or maybe she'd accepted that her affair had shattered what we had. When we finished the practicalities, she asked softly, "Is there any chance we can try counseling after the separation? A trial separation, see if we can fix what's broken." I stared at the floor. My mind flashed to the video. I remembered how I wanted to show it to everyone, punish her humiliation with public shame. But something in me had shifted after seeing Teddy, after facing the quiet reality of her tears. I no longer felt that urge to publicly destroy her. Maybe it was the father in me, wanting to spare our daughter from a scandal. Maybe I was just exhausted from anger. I don't know, I said at last. Part of me says yes, part says no. Right now, I need to be alone. She nodded, voice trembling. Okay. If you change your mind, I'll be here. After she left, the house felt emptier than ever. I realized I was truly alone now. Wife gone, daughter living at college. No illusions left. This was the aftermath. I looked at my phone again. That cursed video still saved. I pictured myself pressing send to everyone I knew, letting the truth out, punishing her. But I put the phone away. It was time to let the wound breathe, not rub salt in it forever. One more lonely month crawled by. Our daughter visited occasionally, never pressing too hard. She simply hugged me, asked if I was doing okay. I tried to be strong, show minimal cracks. She never saw me break down, never saw me cry. But inside, I was unraveling. In the quiet nights, I'd lie on my bed and fight the memory of her betrayal. Sometimes I'd dream about the cabin by the lake, about that younger version of me and Evelyn, laughing as we sipped cheap wine by the shore. I'd wake up hollow, my pillow damp with sweat. The next day, I'd close myself off again, robotic at work, polite to colleagues, careful not to let a hint of my personal turmoil show. And then, about 5 weeks after that horrifying day, I got an invitation to a family gathering. My parents, her parents, some cousins, all wanting to celebrate the Big 5-0. They'd originally planned a surprise party, I learned. That was the big event everyone was hinting at. Ironic how well that turned out. The message came from my mother, who had no clue about the scandal. At first, I planned to ignore it. Then I decided, no, enough running. I'd show up. I'd see how much she'd told them. Because if they were clueless, that meant she never told them anything. If they suspected, that meant she'd confessed. Either way, it was time to stop hiding. The day of the gathering, I dressed in a casual blazer and slacks, took a deep breath, and drove to my parents' house. The place buzzed with conversation. Her parents were there, standing off to one side, looking tense. She was also there, eyes darting around. My mother greeted me with a smile. Happy belated birthday, honey, trying to be cheerful. I mustered a polite half-smile. Her father approached me, an older man with lines etched into his face. He cleared his throat. Son, is there something we should know? Evelyn told us you two are separated, but not why. I glanced at Evelyn, who stood nearby, cheeks flushed. It's a private matter, I said. We're working through it. He nodded, face grim, obviously suspecting an affair but not wanting to confirm it. Her mother hovered behind him, not meeting my eyes. I noticed my daughter in the corner, looking anxious. She waved shyly. I smiled and waved back. The room was thick with unspoken tension, everyone skirting around the real issue. I felt my chest tighten. My father offered me a glass of champagne. I took it, though I didn't feel like celebrating anything. A cousin launched a toast about 50 years young, many more to come. People clapped politely. I took a sip of champagne, tasted bitterness. Evelyn stood across the room, arms folded, eyes glistening. We avoided each other's gaze for most of the night, but eventually we ended up near the fireplace together, alone in the swirl of relatives. She said quietly, I'm sorry. I told them we had a major break in trust, that I'm the one to blame. I didn't go into details, but they suspect enough. I studied her a moment. Okay, I said. At least you didn't dump it on me. My chest hurt. I glanced away. Do you want me to leave? I don't want to ruin your night. I almost laughed. This night was ruined the moment we stepped in. I said, but it's not your fault alone. Let's just get through it. She nodded, tears threatening. Then she moved aside, letting me pass. People started singing a makeshift birthday song, a half-hearted gesture. I looked around, saw pity on some faces, confusion on others. My daughter hovered close, brow furrowed. That's when I decided. Enough. I gently set the champagne down and cleared my throat. Thanks for the well wishes, I said, voice projecting to the group. 50 is a milestone. I won't pretend this is the perfect scenario. I'm going through a difficult time. And so is Evelyn. There are some things we have to work out, or not. But I appreciate everyone being here. I paused, scanning their faces. I'm sorry if I'm not my usual self. But if you want honesty, I'm pretty torn up inside. That's all. A hush fell. I could almost feel everyone's discomfort. My parents exchanged worried glances. Her parents looked resigned. Evelyn stared at the floor. My daughter walked over and hugged me in front of them all, tears in her eyes. I patted her back, blinking away the burn in my own eyes. In that moment, I felt a sudden release. I realized I didn't need to show the video to anyone. I didn't need to expose her publicly in a humiliating display. My daughter was here, hugging me, and she already understood enough to support me. My parents clearly saw I was in pain. Her parents realized their daughter had done something grievous. I had my closure. The punishment was in plain sight. Evelyn's shame, my heartbreak, the family tension. Maybe once upon a time I wanted to broadcast it to the world. But now I saw how destructive that would be for all of us, including me. I whispered to my daughter, "I'll be okay," though a tear rolled down my cheek. She nodded, wiping her own. The room exhaled a collective breath. Some stepped forward to offer awkward words of comfort. Others gave us space. I felt the warmth of my father's hand on my shoulder, my mother's gentle pat on my arm, and Evelyn, standing a few feet away, quietly wept, her shoulders trembling. That night, after everyone left, my parents insisted I stay in the guest room. I agreed, not wanting to drive home in that emotionally raw state. Lying on the old twin bed in the dark, I listened to my breath. It was calmer now, not that frantic panting. I realized that for the first time since I discovered Teddy on Netflix, I wasn't obsessed with revenge or haunted by rage. I was just grieving, and that felt oddly freeing. A few days later, I called Evelyn and told her we needed to finalize the separation agreement. She agreed. We met at a notary, signed the papers, and parted ways. No big drama, no final meltdown. Just a quiet acceptance that things had changed. I took my ring off that night. She might still wear hers, I don't know. We never discussed it. Weeks rolled into months. A new normal emerged. I found an apartment across town, smaller, more modern. I didn't want the old house, too many memories in every corner. Evelyn stayed there for the time being. But it felt empty, or so she said. Sometimes we text about the basic stuff. Bills, our daughter's college schedule. Nothing more. One evening, while unpacking in my new place, I stumbled upon my phone with that infamous video. It was still there, untouched. A silent testament to the worst day of my life. I opened the gallery, hovered over the delete button. Part of me hesitated, thinking, could this be my final card, my leverage if she tries anything? Then I realized that was the old bitterness talking. She wasn't fighting me or lying about me. She was living with her regret, and I was done punishing myself with it. With a trembling hand, I tapped delete. The phone prompted me to confirm. I pressed yes. In an instant, it was gone. A wave of unexpected relief spread through me. I set the phone aside, leaned back on the couch, and took a deep breath. My eyes closed. No more replays, no more illusions, just the reality of a man who'd been betrayed, who had the proof but chose not to live in it forever. I exhaled a long, shaky breath, feeling the tension in my chest finally loosen. Outside my window, cars passed by, city lights glowed. Life went on. 50 years behind me, who knows how many ahead. But I was free to start them without the burden of that recording. That's when I realized. My breath no longer sounded like a foreign presence. I was just breathing, quietly, steadily, as a man who had faced betrayal and survived. A man who might just find the strength to move on, no matter how raw the hurt still was. I let out a deep sigh, hearing the calm in my own lungs. Then I stood up, walked to the window, and gazed at the skyline. The final words of my father echoed in my mind. A man doesn't break. He finds a way. I understood them now in a different light. It's not about never shedding tears or pretending to be invincible. It's about carrying the scars without letting them define you forever. My marriage was over, but my life wasn't. With my next breath, I felt a flicker of hope kindle somewhere deep inside, overshadowing the anger at last. I stayed at that window for a while, letting that moment settle in. Then I quietly said to the glass, as if she could hear, "I'm not broken, I'm still here." And the silence answered me with the steady rhythm of my own breathing, a sound that finally felt like home again.